Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, as always, Mr. Mark Morrison,
Howdy.
and also here, Mr. Daniel Anderson.
Hello.
And we are live on the Twitch channel, so if you want to go subscribe to the Two Network on Twitch, you can catch what we do here at Video Games to the Max and also what our pals over with Mark Radlich reviewing the recent Thor movie. Just did it, a little bit before we started here. So if you want to hear their thoughts on the Thor movie, you can go do that on the Twitch channel or on YouTube channel, W2 Network as well. Will be up a little bit later on the YouTube. So, and of course, we're also available on podcasts as well if that is easier for you guys just to listen to us later. So, with those pleasantries out of the way, guys, I mean, have we been playing anything here this week? Daniel?
I've played about 15 minutes of KOTOR 2, and that's about it. I've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Days off, had to change some plans around, so it kind of eliminated any free time I had.
Yeah, always great when real life gets in the way of the gaming. We all know how that is. Mark, you been able to play anything, get any farther in the Fire Emblem Three Hopes there?
Yeah, I beat it at least the first time.
Okay, you beat it the first time. So you said 15 hours in last week. How how much more did you have to play where you beat it the first time? I guess.
About 35
Okay.
total, maybe 40. I mean, I did like everything, so or I tried to.
Okay, I mean, still 40 hours for the first playthrough when there's two other storylines and doing pretty much everything. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I gotta say the second playthrough is gonna be a lot easier because I can just blow through most of the battles with my like level 60 character.
Okay, well that's positive. At least you don't have to like start all over every time you do a.
Yeah, well, they let you
You know.
carry over like levels, support item or support levels, character levels, and like your camp. So that's very helpful, and like weapons and stuff, or like whole inventory.
Okay, I mean that's super. That's great on that end.
Yeah.
So you said you were doing the on the first one. Which of the houses?
I did the golden deer. I think they're like the golden
Okay.
wildfire. Now I'm doing the evil one, the red, the Edelgard one. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there any other thoughts on the game at all that you beat it or
I
beat
mean
it once at least?
they do give you good ways to get around the environments, uh, but the switch performance still isn't like great because you have like enemies popping in like kind of randomly, or it takes a second or two for like the base captain to show up in an area, and it's like this could be happening quicker, or like, just having to load in enemies all the time. Uh, but other than that, it's pretty good. Or because it's funny because like Jens won't touch the game because it's on the Switch. It's like who? I mean, it is not a
I mean,
great
wasn't that
experience.
the same thing with Fire Emblem?
Yeah, but that was a
The
strategy game and not a Musu
uh,
game. So he, but it's like,
I
I
mean,
mean,
if it was like unplayable or something, that's different. But
yeah, but it's
yeah,
not like it's not the best, but it's certainly not like Deadly Premonition 2 on the Switch. You fucking played that.
right.
I mean, yeah, this is
Yeah.
perfectly playable. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's 80% there. So
I mean, they've had these Musu. I mean, this is a game that you're looking at like a lot of the same characters over and over, just trying to kill in mass. So I mean, I don't really know what your most of the
yeah,
battle is not that important that it looks super great or as long as it runs comparably.
yeah. I mean, there are
Uh,
dips when like a big enemy's on screen, or like when there actually is like a huge amount of enemies, but
right.
that's pretty few and far between. So, but yeah, I think it's a good Fire Emblem like side story or guide-in game. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I'll finish at least the second run, and maybe do a third real quick because you can just knock it out really fast.
Right.
Like an enemy will go down like one hit.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's always fun when you actually become OP and get to use that OPness in a game.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
well. Anything else?
Nah, a few hidden adventure or hidden object games and other Steam crap. That's about it.
All right, fair enough. I'm reviewing a game that I've mentioned before that I've really been like waiting a lot to play. Right Memory Implement, which is the sequel technically to the demo-ish game that released. You can still buy it on Steam, and then they have a full version also that you can buy. I think it's like usually easy like $5 or so that you can get it. So um I can't talk like too much. I mean, honestly, where I'm at, there's not a ton of story. But I can't really talk too much about that part, but I can say that the gameplay is fun. It reminds me a lot of like Halo, as in the way that it plays with it's just fast moving FPS, and then it also has the part of it that you're using that you can also use a sword interchangeably. So you had the ability to block attacks or block shots from enemies, and then also you have like an EMP beam that you can use, and then you can also like just play it like a straight up gun game as well. You don't have to use a sword for the most part. It is helpful, especially in the big boss battles. So you do want to kind of learn to do both, but you can play it as either one if you prefer to just use the sword skills or the shooting skills. But it helps to do both better, and you can also like upgrade the game. There's different abilities that you get, so you can upgrade those by collecting these like crystals that you go throughout the game. I just been having a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I think it's not. I don't think it's the most impressive looking game, honestly, but you also have to remember that most of this game is made by one person. They have a publisher now, which they didn't have in the original game, which helps a lot. So it looks a lot better, and there's you know, I there's special things that they added to this that I'm having to dance around what I can mention. So sorry if it's not like the best spoken English or whatever at the moment. I'm having to like make sure I'm not saying things I'm not supposed to say. But either way, I think that for the most part, if you've been looking forward to this game, I think it's something that's worth checking out. I actually don't know what the price of it is, honestly, but it's there on Xbox or on PC. It's actually on PlayStation as well, so you can get it on your PS5. It does look a lot better than the one that came out for the Series X at launch, and it has more to it. But it delivers on what that trailer has that they've showed several times. Of you get your gunplay, you get your sword play. It's fun. The sword can be a bit OP at times, where it blocks everything, but it does make it fun. And there's different difficulty levels too. So if you find like the normal is cut to too easy, you can always bump it up. And what I've liked so far about it is these really cool boss battles that feel big um, and are somewhat difficult. So yeah, I've been enjoying that game, and I've been playing mostly actually remote play. I played some of it at work where I don't have great internet connection, and it worked pretty well. I have to say that like from the beginning of this Xbox Cloud stuff, when Series X came out, it wasn't that great. They have really improved it a lot. I think those Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots only have like 10 megabytes down, and it worked flawlessly. There was a couple of times that it does that thing where it kind of slows down and it has to reset everything. I guess I don't know, something's going on with the internet at that point. It has to reset. But other than a couple of times where that happened, it works great. So I would definitely, if you've been waiting on this, I think it's worth it. If not, you can always wait till whenever the game comes out, and I'll have a review probably when the game comes out on the 21st, because I think I'm probably about halfway through with it. So they just basically, after like the second story, like after the second boss, you can't talk about anything that happens. So that's why I'm trying not to say anything. But again, I think it's worth it. For that reason, I haven't picked up Klonoa, because I didn't know if I was going to have to review this game or not. And then it pops up in my inbox 2 weeks before the game comes out, which is always nice when you get a game super early and you can actually spend time with it. So thank you, Playism, for doing that. Wish more companies would do that, quite honestly, because when you give us like 2 days to review a game, that's never fun. And that's why most of the time we don't hit embargo with things, because trying to make us do something in 2 days is not great, not recommended. But anyway, enough about trials of trying to do game reviews. Let's get on with the news here. And pretty much as always happens, because we normally record on a Tuesday early in the morning, a bunch of news comes out Tuesday, as was the case here. So sorry if this is old now, but for us, it's technically the first time we're getting to talk about it. So a few things. Forspoken got delayed till 2023, and God of War Ragnarok got the release date that I think we had pretty much known about already. November 9th is when that game is coming out. And then also, for some reason, I guess Ubisoft just wants to go ahead and send it out to, be forgotten about, even though, yes, it is a technically completely different game than God of War. A Skull and Bones did finally get a release date, and they did do that gameplay reveal of it. And it comes out, in fact, November 8th, just like we had speculated about last week. So with all of this here, I mean, what do you think? I mean, they gave a 30-second trailer that I guess maybe that hints at you can do more with the Atreus in this game. I don't know what they were trying to show there, but looks awesome.
I imagine Skull and Bones will get delayed.
I don't think so. If you're going out now and announcing a release date, it's because you're gonna do whatever you have to release it.
Look what happened to Forspoken.
I think Forspoken's different though. It hasn't been in development hell like this game, and also it's a multiplayer game. Ubisoft will just keep patching it.
That's exactly why I think it will be delayed, is because it hasn't been in development hell, or because Skull and Bones hasn't been in development hell. It'll get delayed like one more time.
Yeah, but I think they knew full well that November was probably going to be the time for God of War.
I also think that them releasing a completely busted game at launch will do it no favors, because no one will play it.
Yeah, and maybe it won't be busted. Just it does look like I've seen a lot of comparisons to Sea of Thieves, and it has more, but it has more things for you to do at launch than Sea of Thieves did. So that's positive. I don't know, what the audience is for this, if there are actually people hyped for it. I didn't see a ton of people hyped for it on my Twitter feeds and everything, but maybe they'll show more of it before November and you'll get more specifics. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
go
think they're
ahead.
just kind of throwing it out there to get it out and say that it's out and
Yeah,
Right.
not have to keep paying for the development of it.
and then can quietly shut
I
down the
mean, they're
studio
still gonna be
forever.
playing for
Yeah.
development of it because it's gonna have to get updates.
Not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
They
not
have
if they
really-
throw it out and it doesn't have a high player count. They'll just let it die.
Yeah, I mean,
I
look at
don't
the
know.
Ubisoft graveyard of other games that all their mobile shit, or heard of Battle Royale in the Sam Fisher universe, and it's like no one wants that. No one.
Right, but I think this is more like For Honor or Crew 2 or whatever that they're gonna keep
I mean,
updating.
I think that's what they hope it is. I
Yeah.
don't think it's
Yeah,
going
but-
to have the player count that those other games do.
But do those games? I mean, does Crew 2 really have player
No,
count?
but I
Because
mean,
like
that game at least has a base level of quality that the small number of fans it does have or
yeah, I mean, to be fair, we don't really know, I think, until it comes out. But I just think that between what's coming out around it and then also just, I mean, the fact of what it's been through just doesn't give it a good boost, I guess. I don't know. I always liked Black Flag, so I will say that I'm
I mean,
maybe
Black Flag works just because the sailing and the pirate stuff is a part of the game, but not the main focus. It's
right.
still the whole getting off the ship and doing shit that this game doesn't really have.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they expand on any of that. I don't think they will just. I don't think it will definitely get some kind of DLC or big update or something before they just send it out to die. I mean, look at it, even Avengers is still getting stuff.
Yeah, but then look at Anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technically, I guess Anthem got updates too. It just, EA just decided, you know what, let's go in a different direction, thankfully. And that led them to have to reconsider multiplayer in a lot of games that don't deserve it or don't need it. So I guess that's a good thing in a way.
See, I really think they're putting it out when they are just to that way they can point to other factors of the game failing instead
they
of
can
just
say that
not being a good game.
It failed due to marketplace reasons, not because it's a shit game.
Right. The Forspoken, I thought it was interesting that they chose the words that they chose of after speaking with our different marketing people and other partners, we have decided that we're just gonna wait on releasing the game. At least they said, just like Final Fantasy 16, the game's pretty much done. We're just gonna be polishing it, which is, I guess, way better than saying, "Oh, we still got to work on the game and we got to delay it again."
Well, when I read it, I
yeah.
saw the impression I got was we don't want to go up against God of War, so we're going to push it back.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Sony does have exclusive rights to this game for 2 years.
Yeah, so I think
yeah,
it's more God of War is coming out. Why reduce the number of people that'll buy the game, push it back, polish it a little bit, and then release it in a more favorable spot?
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention also the Last of Us Part 1 remake is coming out the month before. So,
plus, at least Forspoken's actually done. It's not like all these rumored Switch games that people think Nintendo that are finished, but they clearly aren't.
Yeah, I mean, well,
that Metroid. Well, that Metroid Prime 1 remake, they're like, oh, it's done, and Nintendo's just waiting for it to get released. It's like, no, they're not.
I mean, this would be more kind of like Bayonetta, where Bayonetta 3, where we kind of know it's done. It's official. It's apparently been rated now. They're just waiting for Nintendo to give the full hey, it's coming out on this date. Get ready,
Finally, my
And
pre-order will be fulfilled.
yeah,
From like 2 years ago or whatever.
that's nuts. You pre-ordered it 2 years ago, and you're still having to wait to even
At
know when
least,
it's going to come out. Yeah, I kind of read the same thing. Randy was having a debate with me that that has nothing to do with it. I was like, you don't think that Sony doesn't go, wait, we have two of our biggest games coming out. One before your game comes out, and then the other one the month after your game comes out. Do you think that that doesn't really, I mean, as Daniel points out many times, we are kind of headed towards a recession, so people need to start choosing what they buy, right? And why not give it the best chance to thrive where it doesn't have other big games coming out around it in January,
yeah.
Instead of now.
I looked it up. I pre-ordered Bayonetta 3 in 2018.
Oh, man.
28, oh my God, 4 years ago?
Like October 2018, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much almost wow.
I think that's like when
That's
they first
insane.
announced it, like, because Amazon threw up a product page and like, all right,
Yeah.
let's do this. But
And going back to Forspoken, I also wonder how much of it is Square Enix. I'm not going to say needs a big hit, but if they have a game like this flop for whatever reason, it's not going to look good after they just sold off a bunch of studios as well.
plus, like,
I
the
mean,
recent games haven't hit the mark either, like Babylon's Fall and Strangers of Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you like, I mean, Strangers of Paradise is a good enough game, or it's fine, but I mean, even they said like it didn't sell.
You do have Triangle Strategy that seems to be very well liked. It just, because it's a strategy RPG, it didn't have a lot of,
Right.
It's not Fire Emblem, so it doesn't have a lot of staying power. It kind of came out and then immediately felt like nobody was talking about it.
Yeah, it got ignored or just,
So, I mean, we also got to look at, they have a lot of games coming out within like that span. They have the Dealfield Chronicle coming out September 22nd. Then they had the Valkyrie, what is that, Elysium or whatever that game is, the week after. So then you had that game coming out, Forspoken 2 weeks after that. So it was a lot of games smashed in together. Not that all of them may appeal to everyone in Square Enix's base, but still, I think moving it is a better option because that gives you Forspoken, and then you'd imagine a month or two later is when you're going to get the Crisis Core remaster. So it gives you enough time to, play and then move on to the next thing.
Yep.
But all right. Moving on from that, speaking of new things being announced, Kirby's Dream Buffet got shadow announced by Nintendo just randomly on Twitter. And yeah, I felt like it's like Kirby Fall Guys or something. I mean, did you guys see this at all? Or?
I mean, it's fine, but it's like, why just be Kirby? Just like, why not have like a Mario Fall Guys?
Yeah,
Or Nintendo,
I mean, Kirby is cute. I mean, it's kind of like a resemblance to Fall. I mean, I don't think that they really went that far in thinking about it, but I think it's also like Kirby's cute. You already have Mario Party, so like, why not let Kirby have his own thing?
Because a Nintendo Dream Buffet or like a Nintendo Fall Guys sells way more copies than just a Kirby one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you can make if it's a Nintendo Fall Guys, then it would be almost directly aping it. Whereas, like, I guess Kirby is just, you can pass it off as, well, Kirby does have a bunch of different side games, so this is just another one of those, right?
Yeah.
It looks fun though. I liked all the food backgrounds and everything. And apparently you're supposed to collect strawberries and just beat out your friends, uh, according to that. So, and apparently the heaviest Kirby is the one that wins at the end of the day after you go through 4 different levels. So there you
Just like
go.
dating.
um, yeah, well, we'll see. They said this summer, so I guess they better release it quick because you're already halfway into the summer here, Nintendo.
Well,
Yeah.
what I think is funny is they could have easily, going back to what we talked about last week, where we were talking about Wario and Wario type games, they could have easily used the Mario characters collecting coins instead of strawberries. Have
Yeah,
Wario, all the characters in there on this, and it be better recognition than Kirby. So I don't know why they're using Kirby, other than they, like you said, they think it's cute and it'll appeal to kids more than anything else. But yeah, I think they've got so many characters they could have used, and it would have fit right in and had more brand recognition. Like if you did use Mario and his cast, instead we get Kirby and different color Kirby's, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Samus can turn into a ball too. Like,
Yeah. I mean, with
yeah,
Mario, you could collect coins, and then whoever
or
has
like,
the biggest bag of coins wins. But
or maybe like Pokemon. You know.
yeah, I mean,
yeah. I mean, I get what you guys are saying, right? There's
I mean,
more brand recognition with yeah.
This is a small game. It's not gonna be like some full price thing. It'll be like $5 at like, or $5 or $10. So
Could it possibly even be one of those, like, I was thinking it could be just like a Nintendo online thing.
yeah, but I think
Right.
if that's the case, it'll be delayed. It'll be taken off the service. People don't like that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, they're saying an eShop exclusive, right? It's not going to be released retail at all, so it's possible. Or they could just make it where you can buy it, and then also if you subscribe to Switch Online, it's another one of those perks that you have.
Yeah,
of being able to buy it. So there is that. But it's cool that Nintendo did this and Shadow dropped a Kirby. I mean, to be fair, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a very well received game that came out earlier in the year. So why not kind of try to build off that and have more Kirby? I don't
sure.
know. Yeah. I mean, they did have a Mario, even though none of us are talking about it because nobody bought it. I'm kind of hoping it goes on a sale. I don't want to spend $60 on Battle League when there's so many other games coming out right now. I would think that it's going to be one of those games on the Black Friday sale when Nintendo does that eventually. So I'm waiting to see if that's going to happen. But yeah, just because we aren't talking about it, Mario did have sort of a party game, multiplayer game already come out this year. So I guess they didn't need another one. But moving on from there, we do have another game that was just kind of randomly there was sort of rumors about it happening. I think we talked about the possibility of it happening. But Lollipop Chainsaw Remake is official. Apparently, Suda51 and James Gunn have nothing to do with it, which is kind of sad. But this new company, Dragami Games, is doing a remake of it. So,
I mean, why would either guy have to be involved?
I don't know, just to like, it'd be cool if they're adding like new stuff to it, right? Like we see this with remakes sometimes where you're adding new things to it as well, not just.
Yeah, but then it's usually bad.
Well, and I have a hard time seeing James Gunn actually being involved in something like this now with everything else that he's doing.
Yeah, but I mean, Peacemaker wasn't, PG either, and he was involved in that.
No, but nobody's super busy. That's what he. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm referring to how busy it is, not just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think yeah, I'm not surprised the original talent isn't coming back. This cut to me, it just kind of looks like, hey, let's remaster and remake it and release it
Uh,
and try
yeah,
to.
like I'm sure it's gonna have the same script, or at least it might be like changed a little, but not the
Yeah.
same. Most of it will probably be the same.
I
I mean,
just wanna know what's gonna make it a remake and not a remaster. To me, then it's not having the original people involved, so it kind of makes me worried a little bit.
well, probably a better
Um,
battle system because people weren't like the first game. It got really repetitive after a while,
yeah, I mean
or to
that
make it
would
like
have to be.
or a more open game because the first game also it's like okay, you get knocked into a room and it's like kill 30 zombies, move into the next room, kill 30 more.
Yeah, I mean it also technically what Demon Souls is considered a remake, right?
Yeah,
Um, and that also came out on the PS3, so this is Lollipop Chainsaw's like from around that time as well. So just
same two
being
games.
able to update the graphics and do a little bit, I guess you could call it a remake, but we'll see eventually. This seems like it's still got a long way to go, so probably won't be hearing about it for a while.
Yeah,
But I guess it's neat that it exists. Like I said, just have my reservations of a game that I really liked back in
it
the
would be
day.
it'd be nice though if they included like the old game as like a pre-order bonus, or like
Yeah,
if you buy the deluxe version, here you get the original for free or something like that.
that would
Yeah.
be neat. Hopefully they do that. Ah, so let's before we talk about acquisitions, let's go ahead and get this story that was sort of the it's weird because it was a big deal for a little bit, or at least for a couple of days on social media. Then Ubisoft kind of nipped it in the bud, but I guess we'll figure it out if it will actually be what Ubisoft says and they won't try to shadow delist it or something. Anyway, but Assassin's Creed Liberation HD had just been on sale as part of the Steam sale a couple of days prior to the announcement that they were included in that list of games that we talked about the previous week that we spent, I think, like 2 minutes on because it really felt like it wasn't that big a deal, right? Oh, they're just removing it from these old systems that nobody really plays that much anymore. And it's just the multiplayer and online stuff, even though it is DLC that you bought that you can't play. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to the Steam listing, it was, oh, wait, this game's going to be completely delisted. You can't play it at all, even if you bought it. That's a slippery slope, right? Of, oh, wait a minute, I paid for this thing. I can no longer play it because supposedly you need servers to be able to play this.
I mean, it's
That's
happened
not great.
before.
Well, no, but I'm just saying it's not great. Especially, it's a terrible look when the game was just on sale a
Yeah,
few days ago.
I mean,
So
yeah, Ubisoft should just release like an offline crack or offline version. And
yeah, yeah,
they already have come out and said like, oh, if you owned it, you can still play it. But
right.
I
I mean, that's still left to be seen.
I trust
Yeah.
Ubisoft about as much as EA as far as that goes.
I mean, does this worry you that eventually we will get to this point with so many games now having multiplayer components and online components? Like, are we going to get to this point down the line where these games just won't be playable at all?
I mean, we're kind of getting to that point now. Look at all the. I mean, look at. I'll bring up Anthem. People, I could still go out to a Walmart and see a copy of Anthem for sale. I mean, we've got all these old MMO games that people bought. They shut down the servers, and then you can't play on City of Heroes, Villains, Star Wars Galaxies. I mean, the list goes on. It's just at this point, it's getting to the. I mean, we're at the point now where you don't own the game; you're just licensing to play it.
Yeah,
I
I
would
got dump.
yeah.
Yeah, dump money into online games, and even like some single player games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. To me, it's more of like because we're feeling the need to put multiplayer stuff into these single player driven games that we could run into this more where because this game has multiplayer component, we have to take it down completely instead of saying all right from the get go, right? Ubisoft could have said that. Hey, don't worry. If you bought the game, you'll be able to play it, at least a single player part. You just won't be like it took an uproar from social media in order for them to say anything. And it's like, why should it take that, right? People bought something, they should be able to play it. Now I get it. It's a multiplayer focused game. Somebody decides to take the servers down because nobody's playing it. I think that's a little bit different. You kind of go knowing in or know going in, that there's a chance this game, if it doesn't get help at all, they could just take it down, right? Like, Blizzard just announced that they're basically not, Heroes of the Storm's going into maintenance mode. They're not going to be doing anything big with it anymore because it's not worth it for them. What if tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but within a certain amount of time, they just go, oh, wait, well, it's really not doing anything for us. Heroes of the Storm, just forget it.
Yeah, that's what they're doing now.
Yeah. I mean, so the parallel to this is when, when Heroes of the Storm came out, everybody was trying to create their next big MOBA because MOBAs were the big fad. If you wanted a game that was going to make you a ton of money, it had to be a MOBA. When Liberation came out, it was every game has to have multiplayer or people won't play it. And they started tacking multiplayer onto every single game you could find, whether it made sense or not.
Right.
I mean, think back to the Ghostbusters game back when it first came out. There was a multiplayer for that. Didn't make any sense, but it was there because they thought nobody would play the game if there wasn't a multiplayer. What we're seeing is these fads that the developers get behind, thinking that they have to do this to get the game to sell. We're seeing the consequences of it so many years down the road.
Right. I mean, and also we're seeing this in other capacities. Sony's removing paid video content in Europe due to an ever-evolving licensing agreement with some of these companies, especially Studio Canal, movies and that thing. I mean, they're just straight up pulling them from the place that your PlayStation library, and you bought this stuff. Yep. Like, we're not talking about you have it on a streaming service and they just the license ended so it's no longer on there. Like, you bought this. That's a weird move.
Yeah, but like Daniel was saying, like, you don't own it if you just borrow. You just buy the license to own it. And also, it's not like, I mean, this AC game, even if it was going away on Steam, you could still play it on consoles.
I mean, to be fair with this game in particular, now I don't know about some of these other games that are on that list that I don't have in front of me anymore that Ubisoft were removing.
It was like Driver, San Francisco, Silent Hunter 5, Far Cry 3.
So, like Far Cry 3, you can it's part of Assassin's Creed Liberation HD. Technically, if you buy Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, you also get
that's what I meant.
That game there as well. And Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered is on sale quite often. So if you really want that game in particular, you can get it and still play it.
I mean, I played it. It was an alright game. I don't know why it has like multiplayer hooks in it like that bad, but
I guess it
It does.
was.
I mean, it doesn't. It's just a single player. Like it's hitting
Right.
some authorization server, but yeah, it's the way Ubisoft
Yeah.
builds their stupid games. Like, quit doing that. And you won't
Yeah,
have
it
an issue.
stopped making people go into your launcher to, do that. I mean, and then also with the fact that we have all these special editions now that come out with, you actually don't get a disc, right? The special edition is just the disc is the disc has nothing on it. It's just a DRM stick, and then you're basically paying to have a digital version of the game, essentially. So it's basically you might as well just buy it digitally, but you bought it physical because you get the other stuff that comes with it. With that ever being an increasing thing, like, is there still some kind of advantage to buying physical? I mean,
Well, all these companies want you to buy everything digital because then there's no used market for games. If you're going to buy a game, you have to buy it from them. I mean, that's just what they want. They tried back when multiplayer was the big thing. They tried with putting codes in to where you couldn't play the multiplayer if the code was redeemed, and if you bought it used, you couldn't get online with it. They're trying to squeeze every single penny that they can out of the customers, and something is going to happen where there's a backlash. Now, it could be a bunch of like popular games going down and people can't play them anymore. Like, let's say, I'll use Mass Effect as an example. Mass Effect had multiplayer. Something happens where, because they're shutting down the servers for the Mass Effect multiplayer, people's single player games are no longer valid. You can't play them. You can't play Mass Effect single player. It was an accident, but it happened. It's going to take a big backlash like that for them to stop doing this. And I don't think they will. I think they're going to keep pushing it as much as they can to try to eliminate any type of used game market at this point.
I mean, Mark, you buy physical stuff all the time. I mean, do you feel like it really is an advantage still? Like, couldn't they just decide to make it to where, oh, we have to do an update? Well, if you can't update the game, you can't play it.
No, because, well, at least with PS5, Xbox is a bad example with this. But with a PS5 game, it's mostly on the damn disc. Like you can, most PS5 games I own, if I like went offline and hit play or hit install, it would play. Xbox games don't have that failsafe. Like if Xbox Live goes down, you're screwed for most Xbox games.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's up to the platform holder as well, or even like the Switch. Like if you buy a Switch physical game, it'll run, no matter like, even if it's online focused, it'll probably still be able to you'll be able to play the single player at least.
Yeah, I mean, we have another one of these with that Skull and Bones thing that we just talked about, where the special edition also doesn't have the actual disc.
Well, I mean that explicitly is an online focused game, so
right.
that will have no single player.
Yeah, I mean, but what you were saying happened with Halo Infinite, right? Where that game came out, and oh hey, there's a game here, but that disc doesn't really have the game on it. It's just, oh well, you have to, not only do you have to install the game, which you have to do with every game now, you also have to do the whole update, and it has to do like a online check before you can even run the game through that disc if you're using that disc in the future. So
yeah, I mean that's what Modern Vintage Gamer talked about it like a few weeks ago or like a month ago or something. He had like a stack of Xbox games, and he was like, I think most of them didn't work if you were offline. And it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, you had that problem when what is it? The Xbox Network Live went down for like 2 days, where people had this problem where they couldn't play their games. Yeah.
Plus, I like the idea of, you know, it like Cyberpunk is a good example. Like I have a physical version of that. It is kind of fun to like go back to like the base version of that game. You can downgrade it to like the launch version and see how different it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is going into or they're leaning really hard into a community type game. Like with Halo, the whole idea was you can play it and then your friends can join you in the middle of your game to help you out. And so you know going into it that there's a big online component on those games. When you get into the pure single player games where they throw something in like that, I think that's where you're going to see a big backlash. Not where there's no co-op, there's no working together. It's just it has a multiplayer tacked on, and something is going to happen to hurt the single player version.
Yeah. I
But
mean, yeah.
until then, they're just going to keep doing what they've been doing because there hasn't been enough of a backlash to significantly hurt sales.
Yeah. I mean, also with Xbox having the focus on the cloud and all of that stuff as well, having these like where you have to do the internet checks doesn't seem like this awful thing that it did when, say, Don Matrick felt like they were forcing it on you way too early with the Xbox One, which, you know, we know what happened there, right? Which leads to the fact that in many regions, the Xbox One never sold hardly anything. And in fact, took a huge dip in the US even to that point. Xbox has never been this big thing in Japan, but with that increase towards the cloud, right? They like to play things on mobile. Just Japan in general is not this huge sit in front of your TV console gaming country anymore. They are very much about playing on the go, which is why Switch is the biggest console. Playing on your phone is a big deal. So Microsoft has and Xbox by extension has really bit into that. And obviously having Game Pass and having the games available for you there and everything else and having a cheaper Series S and everything has helped that now Xbox Series consoles has sold double what the Xbox One ever did in Japan.
From 3 to 6.
Yeah, from 3 to 6. Right? I mean, and that's funny because Xbox 360 went from, or was it? Yeah, it was 360, right? That had Lost Odyssey, and Blue
Yeah.
Dragon,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
to then Xbox One went the other way, where it's like really not much focus with Japan, and Xbox Series are trying to change that a little bit. Trying to focus more on that. They made that big deal with Atlas to bring the Persona games over. I mean, do you think that it's obviously a positive, but do you think this means like you could see more things maybe happen with Xbox in Japan in the future, or?
It
I mean, they
depends.
keep wanting it to happen, but until they pony it up, or I mean, this is some inroads, but it's just I don't think it's going to be a motivating factor for them to really do it.
Right.
Well, and I think also they have a big hurdle to get over that they're an American company in Japan, and this is a generalization. The Japanese market as a whole is more buy Japanese made items and not necessarily American owned company items unless there's something specific that you want. I don't think the games that are specific and unique to Xbox are making people in Japan really want to significantly change their habits of supporting Sony over Microsoft. And then you add in Square Enix going into deals with Sony for a lot of their games being exclusive. That just adds more barriers to Xbox from breaking into Japan.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the Japan more focused games. Microsoft is still, or Xbox by and large is still focused on that cycle. They're improving that, right, with the studios that they have. But for the most part, you're still looking at games that aren't necessarily going towards that demographic. So, and they kind of can't do that anymore. I think they kind of understand that, like, well, we got to just make our games, and if people really want to go play, these RPGs or whatever, then we'll make sure we had them on Game Pass. But we're not going to go out of our way to make these deals with Japanese developers and publishers and other outside of the ones that we can, like the was that the Koei Tecmo one that kind of looks like it could be like another Dynasty Warriors spinoff or something. Can't think of the name of it right now. That they made a deal for that to be on, I guess, Xbox exclusively for a while. But other than things like that, they kind of just realized, look, we're not going to try to win Japan now. We're just going to try to do our thing, and if Japan comes along, great. If they don't, then just focus on expanding to other countries.
Yeah, they're trying to make inroads with Japan still, like the Kojima deal that they announced.
Yeah,
but they're not focusing on Japan. Whereas with Sony, it seems like everything is directed Japan first, rest of the world second. Yeah, in a lot of items, not everything, but a lot of stuff that they're doing.
I mean, and even
in their
Sony in a
partnerships.
way, even Sony in a way has dropped that some.
Yeah,
They've a lot of their base is out of California now. They still do a larger focus on. I mean, they still have obviously the fact that you're have all these exclusivity deals with Square and these other Japanese companies, but you're doing a lot more with American deals as well. So which has kind of led some folks to be like, oh, well, they were an abandonment of Japan, which has not happened at all. It's just they're also have focuses in other areas, which is not bad.
yeah. I mean, what it comes down to is whether you're Microsoft or Sony, winning Japan but losing the rest of the world isn't going to make you money.
Exactly.
You got to make a product that appeals to the widest amount of people possible. You can still put out products that are geared more towards a certain demographic or certain region, but when it comes down to it, you got to have something for everybody, or you're not going to make as much money as you could.
Yeah, I mean you put it the best way there. That's why we're seeing all this focus on shared world experiences and games to service and multiplayer and everything. Because why? Because you have more chances of that continuing and being a thing further down the line, and you can just do updates on it than say a single player game that you finish. That's it, one and done. And then until they do something like Horizon, where they release a new game plus or whatever, many months down the line, you don't touch it again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that's positive for Microsoft at least. That being said, Sony also had some big wins here, including they've now completed the purchase of Haven Studio. Jade Raymond did reveal some details about the studio and about the game. That it's a AAA multiplayer title for PS5. There you go, multiplayer again.
That
It's
was known, I think.
Yeah, but they had previously described it as a new live service experience for PlayStation. But they've also kind of talked about they did a lot of long-term R&D with the cloud, and that's going to be a big deal, and that they're kind of having a focus towards that. And I mean, they're doing this deal with Marc Cerny now as well. So I mean, obviously that necessarily isn't our bag here out of the three of us, but it is the way that gaming keeps going, do you see like this being a help for Sony, that they're kind of going towards more of these partnerships or getting these smaller studios and trying to make focused games with them instead of buying, like Microsoft is doing with buying publishers?
Well, they're developing studios that like have a personality or have like a face attached to them,
Right.
so that helps. Like
Yeah.
Kojima or Jade Raymond, or they did someone else recently, I think, also. So that can definitely help.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Like, Jay Raymond just went through that thing with Stadia, where that went nowhere. Obviously, being
Yeah, but that
partnered with
wasn't like
Sony,
her
yeah,
fault.
it wasn't her fault.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, like, we had that argument, I think, before when they had first announced the studio of like, well, what has she really been doing in it? A long time from now. Is this really going to, help or flourish at all for Sony? I mean, you hope so at least, but
I kind of
there's
feel like,
always, yeah,
oh, just looking at it, I kind of feel like this is more a test, a concept for a type of game. And even if the game that they develop isn't the most successful, at least they have the framework in place so that they can use that same framework for more popular franchises in the future.
yeah, it's a good thought. I mean, if they could sort of get this to work, maybe like you said, that game doesn't work, but say you want to make I don't know, God of War or live service or
Infamous. Have a bunch of
Infamous
people
or
running around the
Horizon,
city.
or
Yeah.
you can do that. I positive for Sony in a way. Also, the developers of the latest game, The Quarry, Supermassive, also Until Dawn, and several other games have now been fully acquired. Um, not by Embracer Group or even Sony or some big company. It's sort of like the way we kind of used to see companies getting acquired by like purchasing a stake and then all of a sudden going from purchasing 30% to purchasing 100% stake of Supermassive. Nordisk Games now apparently holds investments in Supermassive, and they also hold investments in Avalanche Studios, which they're the ones that made Just Cause and Mad Max. They also own part of Raw Fury. I mean, those studios are still around and
And the Quarry did pretty
doing.
well, or it's
Yeah,
doing well. So
I mean, this is cool. That's good for if that means Supermassive gets to keep making the games that they like, and people get to keep having jobs. That's always a positive.
it'll be all the more funny when what was this going to be, Nordisk, or
Yeah, Nordisk. Yeah,
when they get when they get acquired by Embracer.
yeah. That's what I'm like waiting to see if Embracer all of a sudden, a year later or whatever, just says, "Hey, you want to come over here?" And like, why not? We keep acquiring things at least once a year, so why not you as well?
I think
That's
we're going to start seeing that slow down, though.
You think so?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we will, just because right now we're going to see a dip in game sales, I think, in the
Yeah. Oh
next
no,
couple of
definitely we're
years.
seeing that already.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's going to lead some of these companies to slow down on acquiring companies making games. You're going to get more of these smaller studio. I think we're going in a cycle where the smaller studios are going to be popping up here and there, making the smaller games that are cheaper. People can justify spending $20 on a game more so than 60, 70, whatever the price is going to be, and then you're going to slow as the economy starts improving. You're going to see more and more of those small studios get bought up and releasing bigger games, and the cycle will just keep going. I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're about to start seeing the big companies break up or get split up, and then smaller independent companies start popping up again.
Yeah, I mean that's been a thing that has been talked about. Of we've already seen the game sales go down due to what inflation and everything else. And obviously the pandemic kind of becoming more normalized at this point. So even though we're definitely not out of COVID, we got even more infections. Now with this new strain, still have the issue of other countries not having the vaccine and everything. So that's going to keep going with people just kind of saying, okay, look, I'm over the whole, we're going to stop doing what we're doing because of COVID. People are kind of starting to do more normal things now. So the whole like, oh, we're going to be in our house buying games and systems and all that stuff is not the huge thing it was even last year. That's going down, plus inflation, plus all the games are expensive. It's one thing that we can like live without. But you keep seeing this acquiring of companies because you need storage, right? You need Game Pass needs a bunch of games on it. So let's keep acquiring these companies. We got to keep buying these. Will Sony do that more? They're doing. They did acquired Bungie so they can help them get a like sort of thing going, like we're seeing with what you said with Haven, Daniel, of get something going with the live service arena. So
well, Sony is
yeah,
more targeted.
right.
They know they have problems with like live service games or racing games, so they want to buy studios that can help fix that. Unlike Microsoft, just wants to buy everyone.
Yeah,
I think you're going to start seeing companies targeted for the IPs that they hold, and less so for the studios.
I mean, that'll be what happened with Konami.
Yeah,
because Konami doesn't have a game division anymore, so people just want Contra and Castlevania.
I mean, aren't they technically like working on?
Yeah, but Super Bomberman R2 doesn't count.
Yeah.
Nor does eFootball 2023 or whatever the fuck they're.
Well, yeah, that doesn't. That's
Konami
nothing.
will just license out their IP to whatever company wants to make a game.
People have been hoping for that for a long time.
You say that, but they don't. Like, all they do is like license out their old shit, like that Turtles like collection.
Yeah, but like, let's say if inflation keeps rising, somebody goes up to Konami and says, "Hey, we'll give you X amount of money to license IP, and you can have some say on the creative version of it." They're going to take it just to stay in business. I think that's why you're going to start seeing it right now.
But I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, sure, but I don't see any sane companies going like, "Oh, we'll give you $10 million to make a new Metal Gear game." It's like, why don't we give you $10 million so we can own Metal Gear and you guys can screw off because you're not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, you are right in that way. Like, we could see people just say, "Look, I don't want to buy your company. I do want to buy Castlevania from you. How much would you charge? How much do I need to pay to be the new owner of Castlevania? And I now own the ability to do whatever the hell I want with, if I want to make a 50 game, I don't think that there's 50 games, but if I wanted to make a 30 game collection of Castlevania, I could do that. Whatever. How much do I have to pay you to do that? How much would I have to do that to, insert here franchise, buy
Sonic.
that from you? Yeah, Sonic from Sega or something. Like, I don't want to buy Konami itself and have to deal with what do we do with their pachinko division or whatever the hell. I just want that one IP. How much do I charge? It's possible. It's possible we could start seeing that. Like, just do the Disney thing. Like, just
I want to buy the Vandal Hearts IP.
So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for what happens with games as this continues, and if we do go into that recession, how much of that is going to impact gaming as a whole. Does this start up the whole? I mean, we're already seeing it start up again because of the Last of Us remake thing with the whole $70 deal. Like, does it even cause these companies to be like, well, look, maybe we can't charge $70 for a game because people technically can't buy it. We could get them to buy it more if we charge 60.
I mean, I think Crisis Core for 50, the remake, is acceptable. But The Last of Us Part 1 for 70, a game that has already been remade once.
Yeah.
Or not remade, but up-resed. It's like, no, that is you squeezing money or squeezing blood out of a stone, or that is a cash grab.
Yeah, I feel like the price is set not so much because they need to recoup the cost for it. It's more, we're going to normalize this $70 price tag by doing this over and over.
They've been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. That's what it's coming from.
They even said with God of War that it will be the first game where you should already know that if you're going to go from PS4 to PS5, you're not going to get the free upgrade. You're going to pay $10. Whether you like it or not, this is now what you have to do. So, yeah, that's exactly what Sony is trying to do. And some other publishers, some other ones don't care necessarily. But
I think it'll be interesting it'll be interesting to see how successful the game is versus the last one, and see if that extra $10 is going to cause people to not purchase the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would. I also think that it will see a big boon from the HBO show, if we're talking about Last of Us in particular. Yeah. And it will cause people to just... Because a lot of those people may not even know that it's based off a video game until they watch that show. And then what are they going to do? If they have a PS4 or a PS5, they're going to go into the store and go, oh, there's a Last of Us remake and it's looking really pretty. Yeah, I'll buy that.
Here's a good question. Do you think Sony delists the PS4 remake or the PS4 version?
Yeah, I not that they won't. Yeah, I think they'll definitely make it to where you don't buy that version, because why would you? They want you to buy the latest remake. Now, obviously, they won't. They're still going to make it playable for the people that have it. Could they remove it from that? Because technically, it's part of that PS Plus collection or whatever, right? Would they remove that as well so that you don't?
I mean, they'll remove it from that, but I just mean like completely scrub it from, the service. Like if you own it, you still own it, but you just can't buy it anymore.
I think they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, definitely from Sony's end of, like, if you look at it when they first announced it, right? Like 2012 is when Last of Us Remastered came out, and then like 10 years later, you're doing another one for
a second version of it.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I mean, it's not crazy considering what they're trying to do, and it does take a lot of resources to make another remake or remaster or whatever, but it's also like not from the ground up. They're technically lying in that trailer. So yeah, it's like we definitely did use some of these models that already exist. We made them look better, but
yeah. What's also going to be interesting is if the HBO show doesn't do well, what is that going to do with what Sony's planning on doing with the franchise and the remake?
Well, I mean, this is going to come out this year, so this remake is coming out regardless of that show.
But I just mean like they're they're hoping
You
that the
mean like
show
the
will.
multiplayer and
Well, no, I mean
yeah.
just in general, they're hoping. I know that they're hoping that when the show hits, the remake will see a bump in sales after the fact. And if the show bombs, I kind of wonder what they're going to do with the franchise. If they're going to try to continue it with a new game, or if they're going to put it away for a little bit for a few years, like they did God of War, and then bring it back out a little bit later.
There was some movie like 5 or 6 years ago that pretty much like was like The Last of Us. Also,
Yeah, it's interesting because like he really didn't want to make a Last of Us Part 2. So
I still support that decision.
like would he really do that again and make a Last of Us Part 3?
I see him making a Last of Us Part 2 again, or here's the remake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it comes down to if the person has a story to tell, but how. I mean, he doesn't own the IP, correct? It's still owned by Naughty Dog, so he could be
Right,
pushed
okay,
out.
but Neil Druckmann is the main director, the main writer. Like he's helping with that HBO show even. If I mean, yeah, could Sony be like, dude, if you don't want to work on it, that's cool, but we're going to continue with this whether you like it or not, and we're going to make another one. We're going to find somebody that will figure out how to make this work, and we will get a Last of Us Part 3 or whatever.
Hey,
but
it worked for God of War.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Fuck those. I don't like those David Jaffe ones at all. So.
Well, I mean, I did, but now that you have God of War and God of War Ragnarok, I mean, they pale in comparison to those. I mean, you would assume that Ragnarok will also do the same, but
well, it's one of those the product of its time.
I mean, and also Cory Barlog's still been involved with it the whole way, so it's not like I just think that is there a possibility they could do more with it? Yeah, I wonder if he's doing the TV show so that he doesn't have to do another game with this. But maybe there will be pressure to do. And maybe they'll do like side stories, not necessarily a Last of Us Part 3, but like more games in that world with other characters, perhaps. You see them doing that, maybe?
I mean, there will be a Last of Us 3.
Yeah.
Whether the original creative team is involved is another story.
All right. Speaking of other Sony things here, they now sort of have an official hard drive. Western Digital is now partnering with Sony to release official branded SSDs with the WD Black SN850 NVMe SSD. The 1 terabyte version costs $170, which is still $50 cheaper than the 1 terabyte proprietary drive that Xbox has. And then the 2 terabyte version costs $279. Microsoft's 2 terabyte version costs $400, which is almost the same. It's more expensive than the Series S, and almost you might as well just go buy a Series X for that. Another Series X. You can get a 512 gigabyte one from Microsoft for $140. But that being said, I guess it is good to finally have a Sony branded one. I guess for people that are afraid to not, don't know if you're getting the right one for your system. I mean,
yeah, but at least Sony's more open. Like you can still, as long as. And also, a lot of hard drives, not just say, works with PS5.
Yeah.
So
not all of them though. There are certain ones that do and some that don't.
Yeah, but the ones that do will say it.
Right.
So
Will they say it on the packaging, or will they say it on? You have to go Google it.
No, they say it in the packaging, or at least they say it on
Okay.
like the product page on like Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of those. Either the prices are going to drop on these hard drives, or they're just not going to sell. I don't think. I think at this point, you're only going to have a very small. Well, let me rephrase that. Barring games coming out that you have to have a bigger hard drive to play, I don't think it's going to be a high selling item. I think a lot of people just delete games that they're not playing to install something new, especially as money starts getting tight. I just don't see these selling that well.
I mean, I think it's also like for me, you look at it, if you have a decent enough internet with the power of these consoles now, you don't. It's not the big deal it used to be, even with PS4 and Xbox One, to delete and then re-download something. It downloads pretty quick. You're not waiting there for 4 or 5 hours to install the game when it first comes out and then play it. You're waiting like 30 minutes to an hour. If you have, the basic of internet, if you have even better internet, sometimes it's like 15 minutes. So, yeah, I don't think it's as big a deal as it was even last generation that you need these things for the convenience.
Well, I think even last year it was a bigger deal than it has. I mean, this time last year was a bigger deal than it is now.
Yeah, but I still don't see like I can bet you the majority of people that have an Xbox Series X, maybe the S because of the low hard drive space. But also, if you're doing it for the S, you're basically buying a Series X because it's the same price as if you would have bought a Series X. But if I see a lot of people that bought a Series X, they just bought the system. They didn't go buy the hard drive as well. It's just
I did
not needed. Like
I mean, I think we're going to start seeing some of these accessories disappearing or being very hard to find.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're Sony, you keep making accessories. You even partner with this one company, the InZone, to make more accessories. So, but I do get what you're saying. I mean, Microsoft is not really. They have their own, the controller design lab thing that does well for them. Lets you design your own controller. People like that. Collecting controllers has now become, I think, even as big as collecting like games now. So, and that's in a situation where a lot of people play online and they don't even play in the same house. So it's not like before where you needed to have 4 controllers because you might have 4 friends over. Now you're just kind of collecting controllers just to have them there. So interesting, tidbit there for Sony. Will this help them at all? Will it increase sales of this? Who knows? But I'm kind of more on Daniel's.
I doubt it, but I mean, I think people want a lot of storage, so
yeah.
And
speaking of that storage, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Apparently, the reason it's not on PS4 and the reason apparently it's not on Xbox either, which is total BS, is the PS5's SSD apparently. Which I don't believe that for a second. That's the reason why, but
I said it's a lie in the document.
The only reason it's an exclusive on the PS5 is because Sony went to them and said, "Here, we'll pay you this money to make it exclusive."
Well, I mean, it already was exclusive, so
I mean, I think the SSD thing is a lie because like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart proves that like it's not anything special.
Yeah, it's not anything that like is so revolutionary that oh my god, no other games can play on this. They're just like not wanting to say, hey, look, we have this deal with Sony. But I think this was more about, it wasn't necessarily about the Xbox, it was more about like why it couldn't be on PS4. which that makes more sense of like why it can't be on PS4 because the SSD is just makes it too crazy to be able to use. But does this mean that they are going to try to be more ambitious with this? Like that there is a like open world aspect to this game, or like why would you think that the SSD is like so important for this outside of things that we saw already with Remake, load times and all that other stuff.
Well, my question is, what about when it comes to PC eventually? Are like an SSD going to be required? I doubt it.
That's interesting, right? Like,
well, I can give you my pessimistic answer why they're saying all this.
Why?
Well, this is why we have to charge $70 for it when it comes out.
Oh well, okay. Square Enix is already doing that with Forspoken, so why would they not do it with the franchise that they know people will pay the $70 for?
And they can justify it. Well, we had to do all this extra work to get it to work on this impressive SSD, so now we have to up the price just to pay for all the man hours that it took. That's a pessimistic answer. Yeah. I could be completely wrong, but I'm being, like I said, pessimistic.
Yeah. Hey, at least it's always good to have several different views on something here. So speaking of that pessimism, most people would probably say, hey, look, I'm still out here playing Red Dead Redemption 2 online. I'm out here. I wanted to have a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster. I wanted a Red Dead Redemption 1 remaster. Why can you not just do it all? Why can you not just do all of this and work on Grand Theft Auto 6? Like, that's the Twitter warrior, the folks that think that apparently development is the easiest thing on planet Earth, and that this doesn't actually require manpower or woman. I say that in the collective. I don't mean obviously just people working on it in general. So basically, with this, Rockstar confirmed that not only were they working on these remasters, like they did with the Grand Theft Auto 3 through 5, but also that they are prioritizing everything for Grand Theft Auto 6 right now. We knew this was obviously in development at one point. They finally confirmed it after everybody kept talking about it for a long time. I mean, where do we stand with it, Grand Theft Auto 6? Like, are y'all excited about it at all? And then also, like, would you have been interested in any remaster for any of these games?
Redemption 1, if I would be.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be
and
nice
even
to
GTA 4
straight through.
Like if they just like remade GTA 4 like with GTA's 5 engine, I probably would probably finish it for once. I really just like GTA 4 how it like plays. But I think like them putting all their eggs in the GTA 6 basket, and hey, it'll probably pan out for them. But on the off chance it does, then they are completely screwed.
Yeah.
I think Grand Theft Auto 4 would have really done a lot for them as far as like this is one that when you kind of ask people, it's critically acclaimed, right? But it's not like the fondly remembered one.
Yeah, well, it's a game of the times. I mean, yeah, the game came out in like 2008, so yeah, at the time it was impressive. But even back then, I was like, this doesn't play correctly or play. There's a like deliberate feel to this game that I just don't personally like.
I think the problems that they had with the definitive edition kind of killed any chance of getting the remakes made, just because they don't want to. Their big thing is if they devalue the brand, that's going to hurt them more than anything else, even if they're not the ones that specifically mainly worked on it. So the last thing they want is somebody having customers say, well, this remake was terrible, why would I want to risk buying the new game for more money?
Well, it's like if they don't want to work, if they don't want to make it, that's fine. But they
Yeah.
clearly got the cheapest developer possible for the definitive edition.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like no shit, it bombed horribly, or was a tragedy. So and they don't want to pay like an actual like digital extreme or digital eclipse to do it, or someone who has way more knowledge and experience making an HD port. So if they don't want to work on it, and they don't want
I think for that reason also they would have to make sure to prove to people that they're doing more work on a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster or a Red Dead Redemption 1 remaster.
If they got like just like the right developer, people would be fine. Get Bluepoint to do it.
Well, I mean, Sony owns that now, so
exactly
they would have to make it exclusive or something.
Damn straight.
In order for that to happen. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't know. I don't think they would waste. Yeah.
The tragedy of like Rockstar is they only care about GTA now.
Yeah.
They used to like be an actual developer. I mean, say what you want, but most of their games like Midnight Club, Bully, The Warriors, even like Table Tennis, they were of a quality or all different and interesting. And now it's just GTA all the time.
Yeah, and Red Dead.
GTA Online has made them so much money.
Not even Red Dead, because they're stopping develop. Like they're like, we're not going to work on Red Dead 2 online stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Red Dead 2 Online was doing as much or anywhere near what Grand Theft Auto Online was doing, they would have a team dedicated to that. But it's not.
Well, the content isn't there, so why would it? I mean, I think it was initially there, but then there was no content. So people went to GTA 6 or something else, and they never supported it. They never supported Red Dead R2 as much as GTA 5 online.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you're right about that. Just it's funny to me that Grand Theft Auto, we have spent so much time building up this remastering Grand Theft Auto 5, putting it on PS5 and Xbox One, and then now we're doing everything for it again to bring the Grand Theft Auto 6. Will it even come out during? Is it going to do the same thing where it comes out at the end of this generation and we're basically putting it on PS6 and whatever the Xbox, whatever is going to be? If there is an Xbox machine, the next game.
I see that game hitting probably 2024.
Yeah.
All right. You think it's
part of what they're doing is they're pulling everybody that they have to work on it instead of working on Red Dead Online or anything else.
Yeah. Because I also think these consoles are going to last a lot longer, or longer than, or at least on par with like the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, and I could see them going a little bit longer just because of how hard it was to find them when they first came out.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think that's gonna. If we have any of those mid-generation ones like last time, they're gonna take longer to come out, and then they're gonna last more on those mid-generation ones for a while because they don't want to cause people to have to feel like this is a lost generation or we're trying to move on so fast before people can really even get PS5s. PS5s for real. Series X's seem to be more out there than. So, yeah. I mean, it definitely that we're going to be in this generation for a while, and we haven't really even hit the stride yet of having a lot of PS5 only or Xbox Series only games yet.
We're only like 2 years in, so.
Yeah, I'd argue you could really just call it 1 year in with all the supply issues.
Yeah. But we're just now really starting to be able to see more PS5s getting out there now. So that's something. Hey guys, E3 is apparently gonna finally be back after all these attempts to be back, and then they were there last year, and then it wasn't the same, and then this year they had to cancel it, and everything else. So apparently, ReedPop, who they are involved with quite a few other events. Of course, PAX, Star Wars Celebration, New York Comic Con. They're going to also be in charge of running E3 in 2023. So I guess that's more positive, right? Um, so, I mean, they also run a bunch of different video game websites as well. So that helps. What do you think could be different, or what they're going to change from E3 that's positive? All right, go ahead, Mark.
I imagine their more social aspects, or the more not social, but the public aspect will probably be better.
Yeah.
That was a big complaint of E3 the past few years, and they've tried to do it, and it's been a failure every time.
Yeah, and because they have that help from having done Comic Con and all that and PAX, you're gonna know what to do with. Oh, we're not just an industry event anymore. We're not just a press event anymore. What do we do with having consumers, gamers here? How do we make it easier for them to access things? Because paying this absorbent amount of money, which I hope part of that is we're not going to charge you this absorbent amount of money to go, is we're going to do something that's specific for the gamers, for the consumers, and then also have your things that are for press and whatever. So it doesn't feel like everybody's just in this smorgasbord. It was already difficult for press to be able to play the demos and stuff on the floor and go to these interviews and stuff like that they have to do. Then you add in all these people and then add them into the same lines and make this even a bigger deal. Figure this stuff out.
I mean, I don't see this as an industry event anymore, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but there's going to be their point of trying to bring it back, right? Of trying to say, okay, we're going to make this, try to make this the big deal that it used to be. Obviously, you would hope that they're not going to charge the ridiculous amounts of money that we're charging for boosts as well, which is one of the things that was making it difficult for Sony, EA, and all these other companies that decided that, hell, we're not going to do this anymore. Nintendo would still show up. They just didn't have a press conference. They had their direct. So like they need to help make this thing something better overall, period. I mean, we still had it with the not E3, the Summer Games Fest or whatnot, which Keeley was quick to announce that, hey, make sure you know that Summer Games Fest is also coming back. Don't let E3 have any spotlight at all. Like that dude has this thing against the ESA so bad. So either way, we saw that when you did have industry people there or journalists or whatever, you had people say, hey, I'm excited about being able to see my friends again, or see people that I work with in person, or all that. I think that's still there as well as part of it. But hopefully they make this more of a, you'll make this something that people want to go to, instead of like what it's been. Even Summer Games Fest this year was not that great either. So that being said, moving on from that, it's good to see things come back. Something that's not going to be coming back after October is the Xbox 360 games for gold, which, to be fair, since Game Pass, this thing has been a shell of itself. So it's obviously better if they sunset it. We've already seen the PS. This thing lasted way longer than Sony did the PS3 games. So why not? I mean, what do y'all think about this at all? I mean, the only benefit of this was that you own the games that were on 360, not like Xbox One that you don't own them, right? So, I mean, the Microsoft's line was that I think they've done this for what, like 7 years or even longer. Yeah, I think like 7 or 8 years. they've run out of games they can put on the service. So, yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of evident with the last few games that they've been putting out.
I mean, they've had some good ones on there before.
Yeah, I mean, it's time. It's time to start phasing it out. And
do you think this means that we'll get more games on the Xbox One side?
No. Like you said, all they care about is Game Pass. So,
yeah.
I kind of see it as them starting to. They already wanted to do this with the raising the price of gold, and that backfired, obviously. But I think this is them really starting to do what we saw Sony do, right? Where PS Now, PS Plus got combined into one thing. Just combine everything into Game Pass. There's no more Xbox Gold. And I think it's going to happen in a few years. Everything is Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you have Xbox Gold. They might still have the 2 tiers where you don't get the PC and the cloud stuff if you don't pay the extra $5 or whatever it will be at that time. But I think eventually we're going to see Gold go away. And don't know if they'll still be doing the free games for Xbox One at that point. But you'll definitely get the benefits of having Game Pass automatically, which, I mean, I guess, Daniel, that would help in being able to boost their numbers, right? They can say that they have
I think they'll probably keep Gold just for the people that are only buying it to play online games, but that would be it. You're not going to get any free games or anything like that. Gold will just be to play online, then you have Game Pass. I think that's where we're headed.
Right, but I mean, why wouldn't you already do that, right? If you pay the $10, you get Gold.
Just for the people that don't want Game Pass, I just think they'll keep it just so that people can play online if they want to, but they're not getting any free games, and they'll just leave it at that.
All right, fair enough, I guess. Mark, you have any thoughts on this at all?
Microsoft just needs to simplify it, and I don't think they're going to get any more free games on Xbox One eventually anyway.
Yeah. I think as long as Sony keeps giving away free games, Microsoft will have to do the same.
But there's still a gulf in quality between the two.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you can do. Obviously, they have Game Pass where they're putting in new games, so they don't have to give you the newest games on the Xbox One side or Xbox Series side or whatever they want to call it eventually.
Yeah, but all they have happening right now is people complaining about the games that they're being given for free.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be less bad press to just stop giving the games and say, hey, if you want the games, there's Game Pass. If you don't want the games, you can pay the fee to play online. We're going to stop giving away the free games that people complain about anyway.
Right. All right. So, I mean, 2 80s to 90s IPs are coming out with games here. Robocop Rogue City is coming out. Of course, it will star Peter Weller, who played Robocop in the movies, at least the first 2. So that's a positive. And then you also have a new Terminator game made by Nacon, which, Nacon doesn't necessarily have the best track record of making games. It's going to be open world, apparently. So there's that. I mean,
it's like a survival game. So
yeah, survival. Like, anyone interested in either one of these coming?
I thought the RoboCop trailer looked fine, but the problem is you're playing RoboCop, and like the joke of RoboCop is he walks and like moves incredibly awkwardly. In that trailer, he did that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look as the games get closer to release and we see a little bit more of it. But I mean, at this point, it's something that I'm slightly keeping an eye on, but I'm not rushing out to pre-order anything or marking a calendar date for. I'm not scouring the internet for more information on it or anything like that.
It just made me think of the games, the really old RoboCop game that GameSpot reviewed like in 2004, where I think it was like Alex Navarre like lost his mind.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I guess how they pan out.
It'd be cool if there was a RoboCop game, like if this game actually is good, but and it looked like graphically, I thought it looked fine, but just like it just like you're playing RoboCop and he's like a very cumbersome looking character, or not looking, but he is like he doesn't run, and it just like kind of deliberately slow.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do as RoboCop in the game? Are you just going to walk around shooting people shooting at you?
That exactly was it. Yeah. Even down to like the targeting system, like the whole like green highlighting thing. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, you got to have more than just a corridor shooter for a RoboCop game, but I don't know what else you could do really.
Well, it looks like at one point you were like a fighting an Ed 209. I mean, it's the same thing. I was like, why hasn't there been like a good Judge Dredd game, like an open world, police game like that? But I think it's just hard to do.
I mean, I think you could do Dredd a little bit easier, just because you could have it in the vein of the Arkham games where you're solving crimes.
Sure.
In addition to just shooting everything.
Well, the problem is just who's going to that would be incredibly costly to make. And
well, yeah,
I
just mean
yeah.
Like RoboCop in the movies, he didn't really do a lot of investigating. It was more and he shows up, shoots everybody that's shooting at him, and then moves on.
Yeah, this game looked exactly like that. I guess I saw that they're going to try to make a new RoboCop vs. Terminator game also.
That would at least be a little bit more interesting, just because it's not something we've already seen.
Yeah,
let me rephrase it. We have seen it, but not from a first-person shooter standpoint.
Sorry, I hadn't watched this trailer before. It is something else. Let me tell you.
That's what
I mean, I'd be happier if this was just a movie continuing.
Well, they're making a new RoboCop movie, or they said they were.
I just mean in general, you could have this as an animated movie, and it's hard to see how RoboCop could make a good game with the awkward moving and the just shooting everybody that's shooting at you. Whereas that'd be a fine RoboCop movie, just not. I don't see how it's going to be a entertaining game. It looks like it would get repetitive really quick.
Yep.
I mean, especially when you're so used to like shooting games where it's about quick movements and about being able to take out the enemies as quick as possible, and not like, let me do this as slowly as possible.
What they should do is introduce like the first thing you get is like a hydraulic upgrade, so you can actually move normally.
Well, or just lean into it and have it play like Mech Warrior.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like RoboCop enough, so if it actually gets good reviews, I might give it a shot. But I just don't have a lot of faith.
Yeah,
I have way less faith in a Terminator game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least like with what they said about the Terminator game, a survival game set in the future where you're trying to survive while fighting and avoiding Terminators. That could be interesting. As opposed to a RoboCop game where you're slowly walking around and shooting everybody that shoots you, and that's it.
Yeah, you're in an abandoned factory, like picking up guys and throwing them, which is also in the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the Terminator game at least has more story opportunities behind it, because except for the really bad movie, you never really see a lot of stuff happening in the future. But with RoboCop, you see he walks around, he shoots everybody that shoots at him, and that's about it. And I don't know. I mean, you never saw him investigating and trying to solve crimes in the movies, or at least the first two. And I don't see how you're going to make a game on that's going to be anything beyond like a $20 corridor shooter that people are going to play and then write off as a forgettable game.
I hope in that Robocop game there's just like a spike only mode where you can only use the spike as your weapon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that you would hope the Robocop game is good.
At least they showed off like a trailer, like that Terminator thing. There was like nothing.
Yeah.
They just announced it.
Exactly. So that being said, I think that's pretty much it here. For us covering things on this one. I do want to note that for me, it's sad that Kazuki Takahashi passed in such a grim way as well at the age of 60, just being found dead while wearing snorkeling gear. And he's such a I grew up with watching the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. I never been a manga person, but I grew up watching the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh movie in the theater. I played the cards. I went to malls and was in like card playing tournaments and all of that stuff. So like for me, like Yu-Gi-Oh is still a big thing. I will play the games. Like I have, I've played around with that free to play Master Duel game that came out at the beginning of the year. I thought it was decent. And then, playing those games when they haven't come out, like, the most recent one before that, but they just basically went through the whole thing of the anime. So I'm trying to keep my dog from killing my cat here beside me. This is it's a sad day, honestly. I mean, the Yu-Gi-Oh manga was done, but there's been over 50 video games of Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's sad that its creator, has passed at 60, and in this way as well. Just like you just find them dead like that. It's just, man, that sucks. I mean. Either one of you guys have any kind of history with the series or like the game?
I watched it on Netflix. It was fine.
Yeah.
Or it had more of a plot than like Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's actually, if you watch it in Japanese, it's a little bit more darker. It's not edited as much.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm aware of it. I never really played any of the card game or any of the video games. I think I caught the odd episode of the show here and there, but never really got into it.
I hope in the games there's just like a button that says like believe in the heart of the card, just some bullshit like that, and you automatically win. That's what happens in the show constantly.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, the heart of the cards, everybody. Like, it's gonna save you. But yeah, it's. Well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask Daniel something, but go on.
No, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was gonna say, did you watch Star Trek or did you catch up?
So I'm gonna just say one line: "You sneaky son of a bitch." If you saw the season finale, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it was hilarious.
Yeah. What do you think of Kirk?
He was good. I was pleasantly surprised with him. I think I wouldn't be shocked if in the second season he starts popping up more.
Well, he's going to be a main character. So,
did they say he would be in the second season? I know they're slowly building towards it, but I didn't know if he would be in the second season or not.
Yeah, he's being added to the main cast. So,
okay, so yeah, that'll be good. I think, and then Orville last week also had a really good episode. I mean, yeah, I've enjoyed sci-fi again. I didn't see something glaringly dumb that just took me out of enjoying the show, like some of the Kenobi stuff that happened in the the show.
Don't worry, Discovery will be back soon enough.
Why do you? Well, I think we get Lower Decks back before that, so that'll at least be entertaining.
I did see some criticism about Kirk, like they didn't like his acting, like the character. But I'm like, well, it's not really him. It was like a vision of him. So, and it was like an alternate reality. So who cares?
Yeah, and I noticed at the very end they talked about his father being on the Kelvin.
Yeah,
and everything right as the sound fades out. So yeah, it's I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to season 2 of Strange New Worlds, which is the first time I can say I'm looking forward to a new season of a Star Trek show.
Ever. Yeah, or at least in the past 15 years.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear some good news about Orville getting renewed for, if not a season, maybe a couple of like a mini series or something, just to continue the story. But I think they say they were going to be at Comic-Con.
I didn't see, but hopefully.
Yeah, I think Orville is going to be at Comic-Con this year, so maybe there'll be some good news announced for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, just this last episode, not only did they deal with a really intriguing subject and moral quandary, but they also had a couple of throwaway jokes with like when they're watching TV and the show they're watching.
Yeah, the Johnny Knoxville and the Jack Breyer or McBrayer.
Yeah, just a really quick cameo as part of a TV show, and it didn't take away from the episode, but it was just a nice little nod to it. And I mean, overall, I think it was really good.
Yeah.
And something tells me we're going to revisit that later. If the show continues, we're going to revisit all that. Which this is the first time that that character didn't seem like just a
Jackass.
running joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall I enjoyed it.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad y'all are enjoying the stuff, and again, I'm not caught up. I do hope that the Orville keeps to continue, just at least so you guys can keep talking about it and enjoying it as well. Always kind of sad when.
So you can have 2 glimmers of hope instead of just one.
Yeah, there you go. I finished completely, went through all 3 seasons of The Boys, so I'm caught up with that show. It's really awesome. Definitely, if you have not watched it for some reason or another, like me, until I just started watching it, just like I look at it as like, imagine if like you really had superheroes in real life, or at least superheroes here in America, they'd probably act the same way. It's I just really like that. I don't think there's a character that I don't like on that show. And like especially like Carl Urban is freaking awesome, and he does that character super well. And yeah, I think it's like one of the top shows out there, definitely. I'm sure it'll probably get Emmy nominated again and all that, but yeah. And still kind of going through Mayans as well, enjoying that. Still in like season 1, so still trying to get through that as little bit as I can there. And yeah, so looking at what's coming out this week, by the time we do the show next week, we'll finally have Stray will be out, and of course if you have the PS Plus Extra and above, you can play it just by having that service. So I may just go ahead and subscribe to the extra package to be able to play that, and then may check out some other games on there that I haven't played yet that are part of that service. Endling also comes out that day, which is that game with the fox and you're trying to keep your cubs from dying, which I've been keeping my eye on ever since the first time I saw it. That Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC comes out that same day, and also As Dusk Falls, which I know both of you guys don't like the art style, but I'm digging it, and it'll be on Game Pass, so I check it out there. Um, one of the cool Switch Online. Uh, was very surprised to hear that this is it coming to Switch Online. Pokemon Puzzle League, one of my favorite games on the 64, is coming. So pretty cool. I don't know that I'm gonna get this service just for that, but it is really neat that we can play that again on your Switch. It's a really fun version of Tetris or whatever or Puyo Puyo, whatever for but Pokemonized. So that makes it even better, I guess. So you can play it in the Pokemon way. And you got Escape Academy and Power Wash Simulator coming to Game Pass, so that's fun as well.
Yeah.
Are you gonna check out Stray, Mark? Or
Well, I doubt I'll get it, but I mean, uh, eventually, yeah.
yeah, you gonna are you gonna check out As Dust Falls, Daniel, and see if it might be decent, even if you don't like the art style, or are you gonna pass on it?
Uh, it's more of if time allows, I'll probably check it out. I'm not sure if I'll have enough spare time at the moment, but I mean, I'm always open to trying kind of odd stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily look like something I'd enjoy. Uh, if I have time, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Right, so you know what's coming here in that next week. Hopefully, you enjoyed what you heard here from us this week, and you can go follow us on Twitch if you watch us live. You can go follow Mark and I on Twitter at W2 Sean at Humanity Plague at W2 Network for the whole thing. Go subscribe, hit that bell on the YouTube channel for anytime that something releases, you can get it right there. Of course, like I mentioned, the Mark Radlish crew. He and his team reviewed Thor: Love and Thunder. I still haven't seen it yet, so can't comment. But you can check out what they thought of it, and yeah. So that's the highlights for this week. Make sure you go and subscribe on the podcast as well if you prefer listening that way. And we'll see you next week.
But
Later.
Bye.